I don't know, just know, but
weird artificial smell.
yeah, it's been here for a few days. I think comes from there. I'm about to start in 34 seconds, okay? Oh!
What?
Just want to make sure we are live. It looks like we are live. Just want to make sure we are live. Looks like we are live. Great. I'm excited about this. A lot to learn, but I hope we figure this out soon. Let me open a bit this. Let's remove the autopilot for a second while we get ready. First time, for sure, doing a live stream event for the school. This is really exciting. I hope you guys enjoy, and let's keep 1 minute before we start, and then we go from there. It's a really exciting day today. Honestly, it's been the idea of having a school. It's been on the works for a really long time, so finally it's here, and yeah, I hope you guys enjoy, and I hope more people get hooked with 3D food printing. That's what it's all about here. So let's roll on. Feel this might get. It feels the right time to start. Okay, let's go to autopilot and let's do this. Well, hello everyone, and welcome to the first day of the 3D food printing school. Really exciting. Also a lot of new things happening today. It's the first live. Oh, forgot to turn on one of the lights. 1 second. Ta-da! Better lighting. That's good. Really excited today. It's the first day that we set up the whole live stream event, so we'll see how it goes. Please give us your feedback anytime. It's welcome. There's a live chat, so that's always exciting. As I mentioned, this is the first time we do the class. I made this index to actually go over, but this is an open event. This is an open to any suggestions, any feedback, and that's what it's all about, right? This is not just for me to talk to you. This is for you to engage, for us to engage and actually learn together and kind of like have wonderful conversations around this awesome topic that is 3D food printing. And that's how the whole school idea was born. So just to go a bit over the topics that we're going to be discussing, since this is the first day, we're going to do a bit of an introduction, just talking about why this school is happening, what is 3D Digital Cooks, myself. After that, we'll do a short introduction about what is 3D food printing. I think it's good. Maybe there's people out there who has never experienced or doesn't have really a good understanding of what it is or what it can be done. And later, we'll talk a bit about what is the approach that 3D Digital Cooks has towards creating 3D food printing recipes or techniques or things like that. And I think it wouldn't be a good school if there's not a hands-on section. So every time we do one of these events or one of these classes or conversations, we'll have a section where we print something or work with some techniques. So it's like a hands-on where you get to see the details of how we make that work. Sounds good? Let's start. 3 Digital Cooks. Well, so first of all, welcome to the school, right? This is what it is. It's a small setup where we have different printers to work with. We have a big powder printer that uses binder jetting as a technique to print with powder foods. We also have some more traditional extrusion mechanisms, but this is it. This is where we're going to be working. The school is born, or the idea of the school came just to bring community together, to learn, to interact, you know, and just have fun with such an amazing field as 3D food printing. And yeah, it's just an excuse to try to put a community together, work together, and have fun around 3D food printing. So who is behind this was mostly 3 Digital Cooks. 3 Digital Cooks is a 3D food printing. Oh, I forgot to mention, this live stream is happening from Queens, from New York. It's live. Right now it's 10 a.m. I just had my breakfast. So if you're around, you're more than invited for the next ones. Or if you want to come over too. So 3 Digital Cooks is behind it. 3 Digital Cooks is a 3D food printing studio dedicated to create new food experiences. And it's mostly kind of like a playground where we are allowed to merge awesome disruptive technologies like 3D printing with food, but not just that, also like web apps, different tech that can create like awesome food experiences. And for this first class, I will be the instructor. My name is Luis Rodriguez. I'm from Barcelona. I've been printing food for, I would say, up to 6 years, more or less. I don't really keep count. And I love printing food. I don't have a food background, but I started just playing around with the idea of cheaper materials. That took me into a situation where I learned about the importance of food, how food is such a great tool to communicate and relate to others. And that's what keeps me hooked up to it. The idea of like being able to share something that I have a strong passion, like technology, with people in a really easy way through food. Okay, so I hope that introduction helps a bit to know what we're doing. And if the camera bothers you a bit, I'm still like learning a bit on how to go from one side to another. I think what I'm going to do next is just go ahead and explain you about what is 3D food printing, or what is our understanding of 3D food printing. The goal of that is just to create an overview for anyone who doesn't have a background, right? And by no means I'm right with the definition, but I think it's the easiest way to understand what 3D food printing is and the importance of it, right? And it's just by separating the two main elements of the name. You know, you take 3D printing and you take food, split them, and we focus on each one separately, then we combine it and we get a sense of what is the value of it, right? So 3D food printing, what is 3D printing? 3D printing is this amazing set of techniques that allow us to bring a digital model into the real world. And here I have an example, right? We have a file designed on a computer or stored on the cloud, on the internet. And through different type of technologies, either it's FDM or SLS or DMLS, we're able to bring that digital design to the real world. And the interesting thing is that we have a lot of different materials depending on the technique. It can be plastic, it can be a resin, it can be wax, it can be metal, it can be food too, right? And that's one of the key points. But I think the really differentiator for 3D printing is that the technology is not bind to a single design. So with the same machine or technique, we're able to bring to life, to reality, right? Any type of design, right? And that's a really strong point, because there's different ways that you can bring a digital design to the real world, either molding or like injection, casting, things like that. But the key aspect about 3D printing is that you can do that each single time with a single design without having to change your process to manufacture. And that's really disruptive, because it allows you to kind of expand the way that we design things and have customized items for everything that is around us. And that's, for me, the key aspect about it. And obviously the other side of the equation is food, right? What is food? Well, food is basically a human necessity. Like food is what fuel us, is what keep us going. And there's no doubt that food is the most important thing, is one of the most important things that we have as humans, right? And it's not just the side of it as a human necessity to keep us going, to provide us the nutrition that we need to stay alive, but also food has a really strong cultural bond to ourselves. It's kind of like part of our identity. And food is so spread, is so obvious to a point where that is like probably the easiest way to relate to people. A great example that I like to use for this is like, you can go to the most remote place in the world, you don't speak the language, but if you eat great food, you're gonna have a great time. And that language that is kind of like embedded in the food and the attributes, right? Like we'll talk about these later, the visuals, the flavor, the smell, like all those aspects that identify food, we are really familiar on how to judge them and make them our own. So turns food into a great language to communicate and relate to each other. And that to me is one of the strongest points of food. And that what it means is that when you put together a disruptive technology with such a powerful communication and also human necessity, you just create this type of field where like there's a lot of excitement and sometimes a bit of hype around too, but it's because we have the power to change how we interact with a human necessity, right? And that's what makes 3D food printing so exciting, at least for me. I think it's a really cool field to work on. It's really early days too. One of the biggest issues that we have is that it creates a lot of hype. So sometimes people expect to have a replicator machine instead of like more like a kitchen tool. That is what 3D food printing means these days. But I think it's good that people understand and starts visualizing those options that will bring to the future. So again, 3D printing plus food, 3D food printing, awesome technology that allows us to bring a digital design to the real world and especially customize items every time we print without having to change the tool or the technique that we use to create those items. And again, the king or the queen of the whole equation is food. Food is what makes this so important. Great. I don't want to go over more about this type of. I think I need to drink water. I don't want to go over more about this kind of like more ideas, visualization, and understanding of what we're doing. But for the next few minutes before we go into printing something and then sharing more about the whole process of how we do that, how we do so, I want to take a moment to talk about what I kind of call the 3 Digital Cooks method. That's kind of a bit of a BS term, but it's more like an approach, right? Or like a way of thinking towards how to develop and move forward in 3D food printing, right? As we mentioned until now, like, and I want to keep repeating this over and over because it's what I really want to transmit today. Food is a really key and the important element of what we do, right? Without food, 3D food printing wouldn't be so exciting. I think there's no doubt about that. So what that means is that when we approach the design or the creation of any new recipe or technique or design tool, it's always important to keep in mind that food needs to stay above any decision that we do. And the reason for that is because, again, food is the key element, right? And the way that I always tell myself like how to do that is just like, okay, before starting any project, kind of like try to visualize what are the key aspects of food that I want to work with, right? And the easiest way to do that is to break food into attributes, into characteristics, right? Like there's some really obvious ones like aspects, like visuals, like shape, color. Those are kind of like really easy ones to play with in order to transform the food. There are other ones like flavor, taste, aroma, temperature, right? Like think about how much impact has the same dish but having it cold or warm, right? Like as as an experience, right? As a part of that eating process. And other more interesting aspects or attributes, like how that piece of food evolves through time, right? Like, does it dissolve? Does it turn from cold to hot, or the other way around? Does it like hardens as time goes by? Like mouthfeel, like the crunchiness, the textures, all those aspects are really important towards making decisions on, okay, how to design for it, and also how to find the right technique for it. And this is key, because if we have a clear understanding of what we want to do in terms of food, we're kind of like not limited by the existing technologies that we have. Sometimes it's really easy to do this process backwards, so starting from what technology we have available and then pick up the food that we want to print. But if we do so, we're kind of like limiting our creativity towards thinking a bit out of that technique or like that box, and allow us to come up with new ideas, right? Even though at the end this is a closed loop, there's obviously no easy way to always create new techniques and new design tools. But if we are able to keep that loop open, and by that I mean not only feeding from technique to food, but also the other way around, it will allow us to have new creative ways to use the existing tools that we have, just by questioning and always trying to find new ideas. So super important. Food is the key element, and after that there's two different aspects that we work on. We like to differentiate. One is design and another one is techniques, right? Design is really important in the sense that, sorry, I need to drink water. Design is Design is really important in the sense that is what makes 3D food printing special, right? Well, what makes 3D printing special. Like, one of the things that I kind of argue with myself is, like, most of the things that we print these days can be molded, right? And what is the difference between a mold and a 3D food printed object is that with the mold, we need the whole process to develop a new mold for each batch of things that we want to build, right? So what I'm trying to say is that design allow us to actually kind of like get all the potential of 3D food printing and go towards this goal of massive customization that is kind of like the holy grail of 3D printing, right? So like having proper design tools that allow us to customize each printed item in a really food-focused way is really important. And one of the issues that we have in the design realm is that for most of the time we are reusing existing tools from different industries, whether it's graphic design, 3D printing, or that are not really meant or relate to food in anyhow, right? So it's really hard to first focus on how to create this extremely customization, because each one of us likes different things in food, right? And even like each one of us wants to have something that is customized for ourselves. But without those tools, without that design process, it's really hard to truly extract the power of 3D food printing. And the other side of it is obviously techniques, right? Again, food design techniques. Techniques in the sense that not only the printing side of it, which is important, right? We've talked, there's different ways to print food, either if it's a paste-based extruder, whether it has heat or not, whether if it has temperature control for cold temperatures, or it's powder-based or not, whether if you can mix different types of material, different types of textures. So like there's a lot of different available techniques that can be used, but at the same time, it also includes techniques that we use before printing and after printing, right? Just to expand the food attributes that we can play with. And before, for example, an example is like blending some fruits to make a puree that can be extruded, and a post-processing technique could be like printing first a gooey paste type of cookie dough that later through a baking process turns into a harder product that actually has a crunchiness to it and a body that it's easy to grab, right? So that is really important too. And this is more or less everything I wanted to talk today about, just this kind of like talking a lot introduction, but just really keep in mind that food is the top priority on what we do, and from there we work towards design, how to design customized items for everyone who wants to enjoy what we're about to print, and later how to find a technique that works with the two layers above, right? And what is also important to see is that this is not like a one-way flow. It's a closed cycle, right? Sometimes we think really big about food, then we go to design and we figure out how we want to do it, and then we go to the technique and we realize, okay, we need to lower our expectations because either we don't have access to that technique or we don't have either the money or time to build what we need. So we just kind of like iterate, right, until we find the perfect balance between the three items in the equation. And that's the key aspect. But always keep in mind, food, the most important thing, design, customization is what makes 3D food printing different, and then the printing technique. And just iterate and learn from it. Good. Let's see how we're doing time-wise. Oh, this has been already almost 20 minutes. I think I talk a lot. I think it's time to move to the practical side of things and do a test print. So yesterday I was running some test runs and things kind of work, but we'll see how it goes live, right? And if you see me holding my phone, is because I'm checking the app that controls the camera. So now it's gonna get a bit shaky because I'm gonna move the camera towards the printer so you have a better view of what we're doing. Okay, let's figure this out for a second. Sorry. And let's open this. Let's bring the camera down a bit. And what I'm actually interested for you to see is two things. Obviously the printer, but also the computer where we will be working on the design. Okay? Maybe I can get the computer a bit closer. Again, first time I do this, so we'll see how it works. Great. So before we start, I wanted to work first on the design. I see there's two people watching, and I think one of them is me, and the other one probably is my wife. So I wanted to try actually to see if someone here, if it's watching, want to help us with deciding what design we're going to use. So if you are out there and want to have some input and in what we are about to design, just let me know, because we're going to run first a simple test, right? And I think probably it's not, you cannot really see what's going on here, but first we want to work on the design. And to do so, we're going to be using app design that we created a few years ago. And the reason for that is because it's a really easy workflow towards having a full test print in a really short time. So no input so far, so I'm going to draw a simple shape here. I hope you can see these. Keep drawing, and now we can change a bit the design. Let's make something weird like this. Sorry if the camera keeps you nervous, but I want to make sure things are okay. Oh, not you. And yeah, that should be it. I don't know if you can see the design from there, but maybe I can bring the camera closer. Oh. Yeah, so that's how the design is going to look like. Right, it's just like a cube, and the way this app works, we have this area where we design, and later we get to see how the print is going to look like. And after this is pretty simple. We just need to press this G-code button in order to extract the file. And this app, what it does is directly generates the file that we need to print. Great, so once we have decided the material, we need a way to print it. And well, actually, I did a horrible mistake on doing this introduction, but well, it is what it is. I'm learning as we go. So as I mentioned, we always need to focus first on food. And in this case, since today we don't have much time to prepare things, the food is going to be focused on, we're going to be using hummus from the supermarket. And the reason for that is because it's the easiest way for me to print and try things. So what we're gonna do first is load the material into the syringe. We already have the design ready. Once we load the syringe on it, we'll load it into the printer and we'll be able to print. Okay? So this is the printer that we're gonna be using. This is a 3D food printing kind of platform. It allows us to use different type of extruders and designs. Like today we're going to be using this linear stepper motor based on a syringe type of printing. Probably this is the most common type of 3D food printing technique. Also the easiest one to start. But the cool thing about it is it can be used with several types of like peristaltic pump, for example, here, a powder liquid-based extruder, a bit more funky, and this is like more kind of precise, but a bit more difficult to set up. This is a auger type of pump. Great. And what we're gonna do is, of course, turn the printer on, if I can find the button, on. And while the printer boots up, we're gonna set up first the plate where we're gonna be printing. And let's load the material. So again, I'm using these hummus from the shop because I wanted this printing session to be short. I think it's already a bit longer than I expected, but bear with me. This is all live, so not much things were prepared. And I think that's the point too. Whoa, this has a strong garlic smell. One of the bad things about using right off the shelf prepared food is that sometimes the texture is not perfect, and I think this hummus has some chunks in it. I can smell the garlic, but you cannot. So that might clog the nozzle, but for what we're doing, we're just trying to do something quick and get you guys in to see how the process works. So one of the key elements on using this type of paste and this type of syringe is making sure that we have no air or bubbles trapped inside of the syringe, because otherwise that's going to kind of destroy our print with kind of like a small explosion. So normally what works the best for me is try to get like as big as you can, full spoon, and then slowly load it into the cartridge. And I think I'm doing a really bad job today, but well, we'll try to solve it later. And actually, maybe we can use this as an example of what not to do. Okay. Let me open these. Okay. So we have almost all the hummus loaded on the cartridge, but I don't know if you can see, actually there's some bubbles trapped inside, and that's really bad because once we start pressing with the piston, that air is going to compress, and once the air bubble reaches the nozzle, the air is going to find a way, oh, I can escape, but that air was compressed, so anything that was in front of it is gonna, that air that was compressed is gonna expand, and then it's gonna kind of crash your print. Probably you've seen that in a lot of paste-based printers. So give me a second. I'm gonna get a tool. It's actually a technical issues. Okay, I just crashed my mic. And I'm back. Dude, this live stream thing is harder than I expected. But, you know, it's about having fun. There's only one way to learn, and that's trying. So, a classic technique in order to remove air bubbles is just like to use something sharp or like thin and long. Just poke around until you make sure that that air has escape, so it has like a easy way out. And that's it. As easy as that. So normally I overfill, so what I do is press down to make sure the piston is flush with the cartridge, because otherwise the extruder is not going to, we're allowed to eat it. You know, it's printed food. What would be the point? And once the cartridge is loaded, it's just about time to slide in the cartridge, push the piston down until you kind of see the hummus start to ooze out. That means we're good. Great. And I can close this. So next thing is putting the this is kind of like a locking mechanism that allows the shaft to always stay on the same direction, so it keeps pushing and pushing. Whoa, we have 4 people on. That's amazing. Hello everyone. That's because the action is about to happen. It's good that you guys missed all my rumble mumble about 3D food printing before. Anyway, so we're about to start testing these. We just load the material, we have the printer ready. There's one little thing that sometimes I forgot. You know, the extruder is easy to remove, but I always need to put back to connect the cable. So let's plug in the cable. Cable is in. Let's bring the lights on a bit more. Ta-da! And as I mentioned before, we already have this first design on the computer right here. So what I'm gonna be doing is, okay, we chose this kind of weird squarey thing. This is just the first test print to see how things go. Hopefully it works. The live effect might create some issues, but I think we're ready to go. So we're gonna be focused here on the printer. What I did right now is just take the file from the design tool, bring it into the printer, and now it's time just to play or to run that file and see how this thing works. Fingers crossed. I don't know what fingers to cross, but okay. We're ready to go. Let's do this. And I'm gonna bring the camera a bit down so you can see better, I think. A bit closer. Can I bring this a bit lower? Sorry for all the trouble. And let's do this. I lost the file again. I'm a bit nervous. Well, let me know if you have any comments or questions. This is a journey that we're taking together. Let's print! It's going down. Well, it could be worse. Always the first layers do not look super nice. Can you guys see the hummus going down? Good. So as I mentioned, this is a first test print. We're having some luck first with no clogging issues so far, and that's great. After this, we can try a bit more risky type of design. And actually, I had something I wanted to play with, but let's just enjoy the print. Right now, one of the cool things about this setup is that this printer can actually print pretty fast. For the type of configuration, is a Delta robot, and right now it's not even going probably maybe half as fast as it can go, but it's mostly depending on what material we use. So that's what we're doing, and I think the print is already 86%. Again, this is just a test, and so far it's holding. One of the issues of using off-the-shelf hummus is that the texture is whatever it is that day, and I think we're almost there. Let me home the printer so you can see a bit better what this looks like. And well, there we go. Oh, sorry. Our first live print. Could look better, but I think it's a success for a first test print. And something that I really enjoy from this is that I think food is mostly about having fun. So since I moved to the US, I fall in love with this kind of like tiny carrots, and they are really fun to play with and destroy things. So let's put it's not gonna hold. Let's put a tiny carrot in the middle. I don't know what it is. The idea was to make a castle with 4 towers, but I think it looks more like, I don't know, like something really bad. Anyway, I think you get the point. I hope you enjoyed, and if you have any suggestion of the next thing you want to design and print, we can do a second run, and just oh, let me see. I think I had, and if not, oh, that was bad. I think what we can try to do is to do a bigger one, just to see how high we can go. We're gonna tweak a few parameters to make sure that we get thicker lines and try again. What do you think? Well, there's not much comments today, so I'll decide as we go. Again, this is just having fun. We're not trying to get any award. Just a short demo of what we can do with the printer. We're gonna go back to do a quick design, and opening the app again, we're gonna reset the drawing. This time we're gonna be extruding a bit more because we want to make a higher print. So we need to tweak a few aspects of the whole thing, and we're gonna try to make something bigger. 400. And I don't know, what should we design? Let's see what we come up with. One of the great things about this tool is that it's really easy to just come up with ideas and do things with it. It's like there is no need to use different tools. One of the biggest issues with this type of 3D printing is the tool chain. You need to go from a CAD model to a slice software, and if there is no previous experience with those, that can be tedious. and sometimes like I don't even know what I wanted to design, what I want to design, and in playing around with shapes in a CAD model kind of like makes it less fun. Okay, I don't know what this looks like. I think this is not a good design. Sorry. Let's try again. We're gonna make something that is 5 centimeters high, and we're going to extrude a bit more, and then we're gonna do, I know what we're gonna do. We're gonna do something like this. No, I'm not sure what it is, but we're gonna do something like this. It's a bit like a funky fish, no? But we'll see. And I actually think I'm gonna change this corner a bit and make it also look like the other one. Okay. Well, now the design is done. Let's save the file into the printer. And this will be the last test of the day. Cool? Okay, so now we can go back to the printer, look for the file, and we're ready to print the last item of the day. Curves, time to print. Okay. Can you see it? I think I'm gonna bring it down a bit more. I can even go YOLO now. So as you see, the workflow was pretty simple, and that's what I like. You know, we pick up the food, hummus, and we create this we use this simple design tool that really quick allow us to go from design to print. And the design itself maybe is not the most impressive one, but I think one of the great things about food is that it doesn't need to be. There's other factors that that has way more importance, like how fast it is to print, or like how much customization we can apply. And the cool thing about this design tool, is that we can easily create like 2, 3, 5 different shapes for a single. Oh, I think this is not gonna. Oh, it's collapsing. Well, this is one of the great things about printing food. You never know how it's gonna look afterwards. Well, I think it's been fun. We're gonna let this thing print in the background. And let me bring this back to life. Yeah. So while this thing prints, I want to take a moment to say goodbye. Thanks a lot for supporting this first class. I think we've had way more people than I expected. Thanks a lot. Feel free to leave any comment, any feedback. I think although it was not the greatest, it's the first one, so we try and we learn, we iterate until we're able to create content that we all enjoy, and especially bring us together to help moving forward 3D food printing. And remember, the most important about 3D food printing is to have fun, okay? That's how we do things. This is a big mess, okay? This is a big blob. So what we can do right now is just like, let's see if we can. Now, at the end is food, right? And we can eat it, so we might as well have some fun. Well, thanks a lot. Thanks a lot for sharing this time with us. It's been fun. The printer is done. So we are. Until the next one, take care. Thanks a lot. Take care. Bye. 3 Digital Cooks. Ding dong ding dong 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 ding dong ding dong ding ding. This is ending music. Dong ding dong ding dong ding dong ding ding dong ding dong ding dong ding dong ding dong ding dong ding. It's a carrot. 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 Oh, the carrots are attacking us. How do I stop this?